Well, hi. Just waiting for Instagram to connect up, but I want to talk to everybody about distraction right now. In this time of transition, I think that what is really, really important is that we understand that it's very important for us to focus on what it is that Jesus is doing right at this time. It's really important to focus right at this time of transition on what Jesus is doing. So I think that it's extraordinarily important that we set aside some time to be with Jesus, much like Mary sat at the feet of Jesus in, let me double check my scriptures, in Luke 10:38-42. We see Martha is very, very busy going about doing what it is that she knows needs to be done. But in that moment, it was better for Mary to sit at the feet of Jesus and to be with him. Well, I'd like to say to you now, at this moment in time, it is imperative that we are setting aside time to sit at the feet of Jesus, to spend time with him, to know the love of Christ that surpasses all knowledge, that you may be filled with the fullness of God. So I'm going to tell you a story, which is one of the reasons why I literally felt that I needed to jump on, because in many ways, this is how I'm taking a message from the mess that happened last night. God was already talking to me last night about the fact Andrew and I were in the middle of transition at the moment. And what is happening is that as the children grow older, we are now stepping into a different role. So there's a lot of transition happening in our life. Not only are our roles changing, but a parent that I was responsible for, and that a lot of the admin, there's a lot of admin and management there, is no longer with us. So all of a sudden, God is calling me to step into full-time ministry. He's saying, this is what we need to do. But in the meantime, the entire world is going through transition as well. So it's this crazy situation where we are in transition. I think a lot of the body of Christ is in transition, but and the entire world, whether or not you're a believer or not, the entire globe is going through massive transition at the moment. Therefore, as believers, it's really important to spend some time. Now, Andrew and I, because our lives are going through transition, our responsibilities are now changing. We are, with great intentionality, setting aside time to go and do things together, to spend time together, to go for walks, have cups of coffee, talk to one another, to just be with one another. So it's this whole concept of, it's not discovering new love. It's not discovering, the first love that we had. Rather, it's stepping into the maturity of love that we have, and then exploring that further. What does that look like? And I want to encourage new believers, you're in that fresh burst of love with Jesus. It's a beautiful time. More mature believers, I'm encouraging you to do what it is that Andrew and I are now doing. Make some intentional time to just be with Jesus. No agenda. You're not necessarily studying to teach. There's no particular reason other than you just want to hang out with the lover of your soul. You just want to hang out with the groom and be the bride. So what was happening last night, to get back on track to why it was, and I'm going to be writing up a prophetic encouragement around this, is that we set aside some time to go along to see a musical last night in Melbourne, in the city. And I really, we're looking forward to it. We're going along to Tina the musical. We know that she's had a fascinating life. Some of it was very challenging. Some of it was extraordinarily hard, but she's made a massive impact on the music scene. So we went along, really enjoyed it. We went for a wander through the park. We got there early, went for a walk. We had some good seats. So we were connecting, having a lovely time. We sat down to watch the musical, and it was a packed theatre. It's absolutely sold out. Now, we haven't done a lot of this sort of thing. We're doing new things that we haven't done before. When we were younger, we did a bit of it, but not a whole lot of it. We were busy. And then when we had children who were in elite dance, we're busy doing carting and carrying, and then we had care responsibilities as well. So it was a very, very busy season. But as we're going through the transition, we're looking at each other going, wow, well, we need to rediscover one another. Not that we didn't know each other in that busy season of doing the things that we needed to do as parents. So if you can hear me, listen with the ears, those prophetic ears. Hey, Betty, I love that you're watching from Texas. I love Texas. So listen with your prophetic ears. So we've been through a very busy season in the body of Christ. If you've been through a really busy season, pull back a bit. Take some time. Be with Jesus. Allow yourself to just hang out. Let him speak to you. Let him nurture you. Let him heal you. Let him speak sweet nothings and tell him how much he loves you. Spend that time. Be refreshed and reconnect at a different level in a different way, because there is a shift of seasons that is literally happening right now. And that if you don't allow yourself to stop, and I'm preaching to myself as well, if you don't allow yourself to just stop and be with Jesus, you could end up going and doing, being the Martha. There's nothing wrong with Marthas. We all love our Marthas. We all need Marthas around us. But also we need to be Marys as well. So we need to spend that Mary time being still, being quiet, being nurtured, spending time together, going for walks in nature, going for walks on the beach, going to musicals, reconnecting, saying to God, what do you have to say about this? What do you have to say about that? And, oh, this is on your heart right now. What else do you want me to know about that? What else do you want me to know about that, Father? So we're at the musical. We're having a lovely time. I might post a picture of us in the park before we got there. And we're sitting down, and I got all dressed up. And I had some silk pants on. I had my leather jacket on. But, got all dressed up, did the whole thing. And we sat down, thoroughly enjoyed the first half. Then I sat down in the second half, and the girl that was sitting next to me to my right, she was behaving very strangely. So I was sitting there enjoying. All of a sudden, I feel something wet hit my leg. And I think that she has just dropped her cup that had been full of alcohol. And to my surprise, it wasn't her cup. She had actually consumed too much alcohol, and she had been sick all over me. She'd been sick all down my legs, all over my jacket, all over my throat that I had. And I was just covered in this stranger's vomit. Now, everyone would go, ick, at that moment. It's revolting. It really is revolting. I had a choice to make in that very moment. So I looked and I realized what happened. I'm like, how do I respond? What do I do in this moment? Her friend looked at her and said, are you okay? And I'm like, what do I do? What do I do? And I said to the girl, look, maybe you better leave. And I leaned over and I looked at her friend and I said, hey, your friend's been ill all over me, all over herself. I think you probably need to help her. And so they got up and they left. And then I realized what mess I was in. So I got up and I went over to the usher and I said, look, I've just been vomited all over. What should I do? And of course, there was this disturbance and other people were distracted as well. So we can see there's a distraction taking place in my time that I had set aside to spend with my husband, Andrew. Does this sound familiar? Whenever you decide that you're going to set aside time with Jesus, do distractions come? Do things get in the way? I mean, I've been writing a book and I lost half of my chapter, just gone. So I don't need advice about how to back up or that I should do this, I should do that. It just went. I did all what I needed to do and it was gone. So I can remember sitting there and thinking, oh my gosh. Then, of course, some of you might hear my voice is a bit husky. It's like, yes, I've been challenged around that too. I'm being called to do lives and yet my voice is being challenged. All of these these are all distractions. All of these is resistance, is spiritual resistance around what it is that I'm being called to do. So we celebrate and we bless, We celebrate what God's got for us in our life. We look at all of the areas of resistance and we go, okay, you're just pointing to promise. If you're trying to take my voice, this is what I'm called to do. I'm literally being called right now to emerge and to start to speak. And the other thing is the distraction of some unpleasant things that might be going on in your world. And I mean, I literally, when I started to step out, my sister passed away. 15, 18 months later, my mother passed away. They were very sad, tough distractions. And I allowed myself to grieve. I allowed myself to be sad. But I kept my eyes on Jesus the whole time. So I'm like, that this is going to happen. You understand this is going to happen. So getting back to the story, I'm like, what do I do? So I stand up, beautiful people all around me. They gave me some wet wipes to wipe myself down. The usher said, oh my gosh, what do you want to do? I said, you know what? Can we stand up the back? I'm like, I refuse to allow what has just taken place to steal the joy of being here with my husband. It didn't smell good. Okay. Full disclosure, but I got some things to wipe myself down, and the usher's like, would you like to sit down? I couldn't sit down because my pants were all wet. So we stood up the back, and I then made a choice. Rather than get angry, rather than storm out, rather than have the show stolen from me in that moment with my husband, I chose to refocus on the show that was at hand, on the show that was happening before me, and just go, you know what? I'm not going to allow what has just happened to me, some stranger vomiting all over me, to steal from me the joy of finishing watching this show. We'd invested time, we'd invested money, and I'm like, I have a choice now. I can either get really upset and really angry, or I can just choose to walk this out with grace. There's nothing I can do about the mess that this person has placed me in. So I then need to just refocus my eyes back on the show, back on Andrew, have a laugh, wipe myself down, clean my hands, and all of the staff were all fussing around. I said, you know what, it's okay. I'll clean myself up as I watch the show. It's going to be all right. Now, I am going to write to them, and who knows, hopefully they'll pay for the dry cleaning. And maybe, we don't know. We're not expecting to get anything out of it. All I know is that I had a choice in that moment. Now, what I could have done in retrospect is I could have actually gone up to the girl who was sitting outside. She had no remorse at all. There was no apology. She actually laughed. So I had every right to get angry. And the staff were really upset as well. And they said she hasn't even apologized. So people were cleaning up the mess with, the staff were required to clean up the mess as well. So it was impacting more than just me. So when distractions come that are impacting a whole lot more people than you, how you respond in that moment is going to speak to who it is that you carry in your heart. So we clean up as best we can, speak to management, get back in the car, drive home. Obviously, I get in the shower, deal with what I've got to actually deal with. The last thing I could have done is I realized, so I'm saying, okay, what else could I have done in this moment, God? What else could I have done to show her the love of Jesus? Because I'm thinking someone who needs to slam down the alcohol so fast that they throw up all over a complete stranger, there's a need there. There's a need there. So she just had too much. And I realized that I could have gone over and said, hey, my name's Beth. I know you vomited all over me. I don't know what's going on for you, but I just want to let you know that, it's unpleasant, but, it's okay. You look like you might need, is everything all right, basically, and then wait and see where the conversation went. That is probably, if I'd had my time around again, I could have somehow engaged with her. She, as I said, was just, thought it was funny. So I think it'll be one of those things that this girl goes back and talks about and laughs about. But I realized that for someone to need to do that and to be so sick all over someone, to consume so much alcohol, there's more going on in their life. But for the staff around me that were helping me and for the people around me, I said, oh, look, thank you so much. And they were apologetic. And I'm like, it's actually, you were not responsible for her actions. I've had kids throw up over me, and they're never a stranger. It's a bit unpleasant, but we'll deal with it. So it's all about how we respond in the moment. But the lesson that I really got from it, and it's crazy because God was already talking to me before I left. I started to type up a prophetic word around, don't allow distractions. We've got to make time. We're going through transition. And so therefore we need to make time for our husband, Jesus, in the same way that I'm making time for my husband, Andrew, to reconnect, to rediscover, and we have greater depths of understanding, of connection, of love now, because we've been together for 35 years. We've been married for 30 years. So there's a much deeper level there of love and affection and respect. Our love has matured into something else. I don't want to go back to first love. So many people say, go back to first love. You've got to go back to first love. I'm like, that's wonderful. But I think that first love is that young, fresh first love. What we want to actually do is go back, go deep dive into that mature love, deep dive into that, I honor you, I love you. Let's find the new things to do together. Let's connect on a different level because we are in a different stage of our life compared to what it was when we were young, early 20s, pre-children. So it's really, really important. So I think, it's very, very important that we spend the time, make the time. But when distractions come, no matter how icky, how revolting they might be, and some of the distractions are going to be unpleasant. I'm encouraging you, fix your eyes back on Jesus. Go back, keep focused, keep looking. What do you want to show me, Lord? What do you want to say to me, Lord? So just let me read to you. I've got some scriptures up here. The Hebrews 12, 1-2 is, let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith, and run the race set before us with endurance. We need to run the race. And then it goes on, Luke 10, 38-42. This is a bit of a longer one. As Jesus and his disciples were on their way, he came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to him. She had a sister called Mary. The two of them were brilliant together. And I've got a whole teaching around this. But anyway, so she had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. Don't get distracted by all of the work that needs to be done. That's the other thing I want to say to you. Do not get distracted. Literally, keep your eyes on Jesus. But there is a time when we do need to get up and be about the Father's business as well. So Martha complains and says, Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me. And he just says to her, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but few things are needed, or indeed only one. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her. And then, of course, I felt Ephesians 4:13 is really important, to know the love of Christ, to know the love of Jesus Christ. That's why we spend time with him. Time is one way that we show Jesus that we love him. We make him a priority. It's where we spend our time, where we put our focus. Andrew doesn't like it if I'm spending time with him and I'm on the phone. I'm not focused. That's unpleasant. It's unkind. It's telling him he doesn't matter. It's telling him he's not important. So we spend time, we put the distractions aside. When really tough things happen, and they do, then keep your eye on Jesus, deal with the mess, deal with what you've got to do, and then refocus back to Jesus. So to know the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of God. Why? We will overflow with the fullness of God. We will overflow with the love. We will then become flowing living waters like Jesus talked about at the woman at the well at John 4, because he is love, and we can't help but become who it is that we hang out with. Remember, we tell our kids, hang out with a good crowd, because they're going to influence you. Well, let's hang out with Jesus. Let's hang out with the Trinity. Holy Spirit is fun. God is amazing, loving, nurturing. He's a provider. Get to know them all. They all have different personalities. But anyway, I just felt to jump on and share an encouragement that has turned into even more of an important encouragement, I think, because from the mess that I ended up having, and this is where I think God gets, vengeance. It's like, okay, you created a mess all over her, literally in the form of someone being ill all over me. But she kept her eyes on what I was doing at the time. So, and then we can then share our victory and say, you know what? Go ahead, do as I'm doing. Keep refocusing, keep on refocusing back onto Jesus, and then see what he will do. Become filled with the loving example of who Jesus Christ is. Don't react. Choose how you will respond. And if we're responding in a Christ-like manner, then we are responding with love. We are elegant in our response. Do I get it right all the time? No. Do I occasionally have a rant? Yes. And then I say, oops, I'm so sorry, God, I stuffed up. And then we reset and we keep on going along the way. So I hope that's encouraged you. Please set aside some time. Make it a priority to spend time with Jesus as we transition through this stage in our in history. Literally, take some time out to be with the author and the perfecter of our faith. Anyway, thanks for listening. We will catch you soon. Bye for now. Oh, there we are.